So here we are. Cooper is in the headline. Cooper is Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, urging Anne Widdecombe's party reform to support the police. And I'll just, before I ask you about this, Anne, I'll explain the background here. There have been protests outside the Bell Hotel in Essex, with some people arrested and charged, following an asylum seeker living in the hotel being himself charged with attempting to kiss a 14-year-old girl this month. So Nigel Farage shared this video and says it shows Essex police are transporting left-wing protesters to the Bell Hotel, essentially to counter the right-wing protests. He called for the Chief Constable to resign. And now your party's being criticised by the Home Secretary.
Yeah, well, first of all, we do support the police. I mean, the idea that we are anti-police is a nonsense, because we're very strong as a party on law and order. But there are concerns about what is being perceived, and I put it no higher than that, perceived as a two-tier approach to policing protests. Now, I would come down like a ton of bricks on any riot, on any violent protest, on anything that wasn't strictly peaceful. And I did when we had the last lot of riots. I said that I upheld the sentences. But I think the police do have to be careful on this one. You get the same thing with Palestine and Israel. You get the same thing with people saying they're on one side rather than the other. They've got to be demonstrably neutral.
What do you think, James, is going on here?
I think Anne is right that it's fair enough to be critical of, for political parties to be critical of particular things that the police are doing. That doesn't mean that they're opposed to policing, full stop. I think this perception point, though, is really important, and that is where you can be very critical, I think, of Nigel Farage and other political figures and the media, because they create the perception, or in large part they create the perception, the two-tier narrative that has been pushed, which is false, and if there is a two-tier, it generally goes in the other direction. That's constructed by people with loud voices in politics and in the media.
Does Anne have a loud voice?
Anne's got a very impressive voice. She doesn't have to speak that loudly to get heard.
Well,
but Nigel Farage, you know, with his huge following on social media, ability to get into the headlines saying that something is happening, people will then create that. Then creates that perception. Perception is not always reality.
Do you think reform could accidentally cause unrest with this stuff?
Oh, come on. There's unrest anyway. You know.
Make it worse.
No, I don't believe so. I think that if there is a perception that something isn't being handled with strict neutrality, then we're quite entitled to say so. And anybody, any party, is entitled to say that. And it should be listened to and acted upon, rather than just, well, I think Yvette Cooper is basically playing politics here. I mean, I don't think
She's a politician.
Much substance there. I mean, she is a Labour Home Secretary.
Yeah. Essex Police, by the way, deny they drove anybody to the protest, but they do say some people who were at risk of being hurt were escorted by vehicle away from the area for their safety. There we go.